27 is your local election headquarters. We turn back now to that exclusive poll for The Hill and Nexstar from Emerson College about the 2028 presidential race and how Americans feel things are going in the country right now. And joining us to break all of this down for us, Dennis Owens, Seth Kaplan here. Appreciate it, guys. This poll came out today, and just going through the numbers, it's pretty interesting.
It is indeed, and most of all for us here in Pennsylvania are those Democratic numbers. So let's go ahead and take a look at those.
There's a familiar name on that board.
There is. I think I've heard of this. but actually, that's part of his story. Is we feel, well, of course everybody knows him, but in
You're
America,
talking about Josh Shapiro, by the way.
Not not necessarily. And so if I just told you that today, look, Gavin Newsom is at 16%. Josh Shapiro is at 10%. That doesn't sound like particularly good news for Josh Shapiro, maybe, and that's that last bar there in the deepest blue. But the story here is go back, and that was a 25-5 margin as recently
just last August.
As August,
yeah.
Dennis. And so this has to do with name recognition
and trends,
largely, and trends. So what does that tell you in terms
well,
of people getting to know
Josh Shapiro is trending in the right direction. Yes, he only has 10% on that board, and Gavin Newsom seems to be going the wrong direction, governor of California, of course. Mm-hmm. But being unknown is not necessarily a bad thing. And by the way, we need to preface all this with it's an eternity. We still have a midterm election in November, and then we're 2 years beyond that. We've got an eternity.
Fun to speculate.
Correct. It is fun to speculate. It gives us a chance to sit on a couch together, which we don't get to do very often. But I'd rather be unknown at this point, or relatively unknown, than unliked. And I think if you're trending in the wrong direction, like Gavin Newsom, yes, lots of people know him. That doesn't mean they're going to vote for him. Same thing with Kamala Harris. People know who she is. That doesn't mean they're going to vote for him. I think that shows there's potential for Josh Shapiro to grow those numbers.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be on one side that, even though the number is small, you're saying Josh Shapiro's going up. Those other ones you mentioned have been going down.
Somebody else interesting going up in that poll. Same poll.
Yeah, we were talking about the
AOC.
Well, exactly, and
yeah,
so here's right, exactly, and here's the thing: if you look at some of those other names, and we were talking about this earlier, you know, what lane, so to speak, are you going to occupy here? AOC has a lane to herself, perhaps, in terms of the more progressive.
That's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez,
Cortez,
very
yes,
liberal,
exactly.
Progressive,
Democratic congresswoman from Queens, whereas. A lot of other people are going to be campaigning on, hey, electability. Democrats might really like her. Is she going to win a general election against a Republican candidate? And some of the others, perhaps Josh Shapiro, are going to be making the argument that they are the best.
More the centrist.
But
right now, with Donald Trump, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But with Donald Trump, there's a lot of Democrats, and this is going to be an interesting story as this unfolds. There's a lot of Democrats very, as you know, frustrated, angry at Donald Trump. They want Democrats that are not necessarily establishment Democrats who are willing to take normal paths. They want bomb throwers, perhaps. We saw it with Chris Rabb in the congressional district in Philadelphia in our primary election. AOC endorsed Chris Rabb. So Democrats are embracing what they see as fighting Democrats.
Very interesting.
And that's AOC trending.
Shapiro did not endorse Rabb in that.
He did not.
Very interesting.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the Republican side, because on the Democratic side, we have a lot of names all spread out.
Yeah.
But on the Republican side, we do have two names that are pretty much neck and neck ahead of the pack.
And big movement there between those two names, yeah. And you see there, J.D. Vance, of course, the vice president, down a lot from where he was not long ago with Marco Rubio, surging. So this is interesting, right? Because very often, I mean, sort of the starting point is whoever's the vice president, it's kind of their game to lose,
yeah.
right? Well, according to these, and again, as you said, very early numbers,
right.
A snapshot in time, 2.5 years before, 2 years before, in terms of primary, before most people are following all this. J.D. Vance, they're slipping. Marco Rubio surging. And again, name recognition, Marco Rubio has been in the news a lot lately because of the Iran conflict.
And I have a feeling that poll's being circulated within the White House because I hear there's palace intrigue going on there between J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio as well.
And now, see where they were. I mean, the name recognition, J.D. Vance, of course, had a big lead. They're neck and neck on this poll, basically tied.
Exactly, and again, we can't emphasize it enough. Early, I can't. I said this to my wife recently at home. I made the comment about how America doesn't really know Josh Shapiro yet. She said, "What do you mean people don't know Josh Shapiro? Everybody knows Josh Shapiro." We know Josh Shapiro.
Right.
We in Pennsylvania
On a daily basis, we see him.
Exactly,
And actually, he's been trying to build his national profile, and has. He's been on all the talk shows. He has a book.
Yes,
did
that
a book tour, of course.
But most people in the country are not paying
and
attention.
not saying he's running.
Right. Well,
He's running.
by the way, he first has, before all that, there's an election
little
in November.
governor's race first, yeah.
You
Let's talk really quickly about some of the big issues that people are really concerned about. I don't think this is a big surprise what the number one issue is, obviously.
Exactly. Certainly, we all know what we're paying when we go to buy things, and so the economy is number one. You see immigration there slipping as a concern. So if you are President Trump, and that's been a major focus, what this tells you is that Americans overall are less concerned about that than they are about the price of things.
And there's interplay on a lot of these. As James Carville said famously, it's the economy's stupid. But of course, you have a war in Iran, which is leading to higher gas prices, which is leading to higher cost of everything.
Exactly. And so this very global, people might say, well, we don't care about foreign affairs that much. We care about what we're paying for things. But why are you paying what you're paying for things?
I think everybody knows about the Strait of Hormuz these days. And if they didn't a couple of months ago, they certainly do now, and how significant that is in the world's economy.
I mean, very interesting looking at that. I mean, obviously, the economy number one, but I thought it was pretty surprising that threats to democracy is still number two.
It is, and it has ticked back up, as you see there. And so this is something that, it's not.
Well, you know what's funny about threats to democracy? Some people think it's Democrats feeling Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. But the fact is, there's a number of Republicans who feel a lot of the things, you hear all the allegations about Joe Biden's Department of Justice and that kind of thing. There are a lot of Republicans that feel there's threats to democracy coming from the other side.
And there's a lot of people who don't like all of it and think all of it's a threat to democracy. The fact that they just even like anything that's happening in Washington.
Right. So you can't assume. I think we all look at things from wherever we come from in the world, right? And we assume that that's what people mean. But it's not necessarily the case.
Very interesting. But of course, as you pointed out, a lot can change in 2 years. We are still very, very far away. A name that we haven't even thought of could come in somewhere. Anything
Nobody
can happen.
put it this way. At this point in the 1992 cycle, we were still almost a year and a half away from knowing who Bill Clinton was. Most of us did not know who he was at this point in that cycle. He went on to become the president.
And I want to throw one name who's also trending. We didn't mention it. On the Democratic side, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Same type of an idea. That is, he's a Democrat, or he's a Democrat in an otherwise Republican state. A lot of times they get traction. So pay attention to that one. And this poll shows he's trending in the right direction.
Well, these conversations obviously will continue. But Seth and Dennis, thank you so
Nice
much
to see
for
you.
Hi, I'm Eric Finkenbinder from ABC 27, and we're excited to announce the new ABC 27 News Plus app. Live stream newscasts or watch content on demand. This is different than the ABC 27 app on your smartphone. You can check this out at home, and it's very easy to use. With a Fire Stick, go to the homepage, scroll down to search. From there, enter ABC 27. Move over to the apps, and there we are. Click the icon and install. It's just that easy.